This conference will now be recorded.
Yes. Okay.
For some reason, that just reminded me of like going to the Kroger self-checkout, where it's like, put your card in the slot. Don't forget to take your food.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in the actual recording the sound of this conference is now being recorded is in the recording.
Okay.
I don't know if it is. Anyway, that's there in the video. So, hi Charles, it's just you and me today. Yeah, no, Linda, the walkway is coming to an end. Yes, that's all it sounds. There's a chat box for anyone who's watching this video. Anyway, before you get bored and turn this video off, Charles, what are we doing?
Okay. Today we are going to be doing emotional polarity technique, also known as EPT. And EPT is a therapeutic technique where we use the science of forgiveness to heal really all manner of depression, anxiety, and physical pain, which for me, from my experience with EPT, working on somebody with physical pain that actually had an emotional cause was the first thing that I did. And because of my background being traditional psychotherapy, mental health type stuff, it was like the mind and body were separate for the most part. Um, and the only concept I had was, well, yeah, physical pain is going to cause emotional stress. But I had never, I had never thought of the two being flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And to see somebody's pain go from what they were describing as an 8 to like nothing, and then seeing them again 3 months later, and they're like, "Yeah, it just never came back," like it was fixed, just blew my mind.
It is indeed amazing. So, you're going to be working on me.
Yes.
And since you're mentioning pain, let's do some pain work. So, I don't think I've done emotional work on this, and I've been doing like supplements and I've been taking supplements to help certain pain, and they may or may not be all related, but also like carrying this one around doesn't always help. But I have like, I don't know if it's pain or weakness in my wrists, both wrists. And I actually started taking a supplement to help, and that has helped. But I'm just like wondering if there's an emotional part to it, or if there's something that I'm holding on to there. So it's mostly like there's kind of weakness and there's some pain. It's not like it's, as my dad would say, it would be like, well, don't do the thing that makes it hurt, but also like carrying around a baby, it's like I have to, so at least at the moment. I mean, that's probably the most annoying pain to me. I think it's just probably because it's in my hands and like, I mean, it's in my wrist, but it's more in my wrist than anything, but it affects just my ability to do things with my hands. So
yeah. So just so that I understand, it's not like there's like a stabbing, searing pain. It's just you go to do something, and like sometimes you can do it fine, and then other times your wrist just goes weak and won't support.
Yeah. And like to do like I pretty much can't do like a normal plank or a push up. Like if I do fists, like to do a plank or a push up or something, like no problem. But I cannot like I've like lost certain range of motion or something. So oh, you like this little crunchy? Makes crunchy sounds. It's my magnets. So that's probably been the most frustrating. Yeah. So, like I said, some nutrition has helped. Like it's helped a lot, but it's still kind of nagging, and I don't know. It's been happening. It's been this way, and hasn't gotten better for about maybe 4 years. It's been a long time. Like and yeah. So I would like to not have. I'm like at 4, 5 years maybe. But it's just, it feels like it's impinging on my life more now. So,
Well, yeah, especially now that you've got more, like, I mean, we don't even think about how much we use our hands, but then especially, you get a baby, and that becomes even more important. So, so if you've got your magnets with you, we'll go ahead and establish rapport. If you can't, well,
oh, God,
if you can.
will let me. She's like, ah!
Sweet freedom. Take 3 deep breaths in. And out. In. One more. All right. So if you would, just want you to think about that pain and discomfort, and just one, um, just one hand, and put it on your forehead while you're thinking about that. Okay. And so I'm just muscle testing using my finger here, and it's testing that there is an emotional component to it.
I was hoping. It was a little.
So thinking about that pain and being free from it. 7.
Somebody might watch this video just so they can watch Dorothy the whole time.
But as far as stage of healing, I'm getting a 3.
Hold on 1 second. Keep testing, but hold on.
Yep, no problem. Let's see.
Here's the All right. I'm back.
Okay, so I'm just going through and doing some of the muscle testing, and as far as the 4 shortcut statements, testing as letting go. As far as who or what, it was a what. The what was related to income, which of course could be actual income or figurative income. The organ and emotion were stomach and loss of control of events. And it's not even, at least on the current picture, it's not even testing as your loss of control. It's somebody else.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Letting go, income, stomach, lots of control. So I feel somebody else's lots of control.
Yeah, on the current picture, is there anybody who would be affected by a loss of?
I don't know. Check. Yeah, I mean, you can check and see if it's Steve or it could be family. Could be any of. Could be Steve. Could be. I guess.
What's that?
Could it be Dorothy? I don't know. I don't know.
And family member. This emotional income.
There's.
Yeah, it's testing as like the income isn't financial, like it's emotional.
Okay.
Like emotional, like flow in relationship.
Okay.
It's testing as family, sibling. Steve. It's not testing as Steve.
Okay.
Not testing as Dorothy. And it's testing as well, and yeah, testing as mom.
Okay. Loss of control.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. She's had a stressful year. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great because Dorothy, but also a little bit financially stressful. But if it's an emotional thing too, I don't. Yeah, same. A little bit, just a little bit. So mom. So I'm feeling mom's loss of control because of some income or emotional loss. Because I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of like more of a because. Mom's lost control because
Like it's not testing as clients. It's not testing as friends.
maybe. Well, I'm thinking, does it have to do with us kids? It could be one of us, me or somebody else. I'm thinking like it could just be, I don't know. At least for some of us, I think it's like, like, I mean, Adam hangs out with my parents, but is, I don't know, he's living his life. Reese doesn't always like talking to mom. Dana has.
He lives in Puerto Rico, right? Or is that where he lives?
He's in Florida. He's in Miami.
Okay.
Let's see here. Dana, she's in a tough spot because of COVID. Like, various things have happened for her. And Will is like moving to Denmark soon. So, and like because of COVID, I don't know if it wasn't for COVID, I imagine mom would have been coming down here possibly more, or like it felt a little bit more free to like get out and about a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not testing as a particular. It's testing as kids, but it's like testing as like the group, and that makes sense based on what you're saying. Like it's not a particular person.
And it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for her, but that's my guess. I mean, there is a lot of large transitions happening. but I mean, from my perspective, sorry, in my brain, I'm like already making kind of connections, but from my perspective, you know, I guess I'm fairly optimistic, and I don't know. I guess I think like I'm the oldest. I'm 35, and I like even this year. I'm like, so what's the next 35 years going to yield? Like, it's like my like I'm like okay, I've made it to 35, and now what's the next 35? And I think about that in terms of like my family and how we interact, and you know, work and this one, and like and Steve and stuff. So so I don't know. What's the problem? I'm hungry. Give me a bottle. So okay, so does that help work?
Yeah, do you think it's just because there's been this large transition and nobody knows exactly what it's never going to be the same again, for sure. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know if where we're at is maybe I don't know. I have no idea if like where we're at as a family isn't what my mom expected. I don't know. I mean, as we know in EPT, like you gotta let those expectations go.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Yeah, and we can't just assume what her perspective is too. So, and
I mean, this year is especially exciting and fun for everyone.
Yeah. What's testing, or the things that I'm testing that are testing for it, is that it's large transition and it's a lot of chaos. Like,
It's true.
I mean, there's the whole virus, and kids are living on different parts of the planet, and there's new additions to the family, and you know, and all of that stuff. You know, a lot of it is really good, but it's still chaotic and not stuff that you can predict and control.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is there anything else that is coming up for you, or?
I mean, I was just thinking about when the wrist pain started, and it was around, you know, when I was getting married, and that's a big transition too. So I was just thinking of that. So that's what I was thinking. So.
Are any of your other siblings married?
No. They also do not have any other. This is the only child, the only grandchild. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it seems like everybody for the most part has stayed in contact,
Oh,
with your parents, but
we're
still,
we're not
the
estranged.
first child getting married is like the beginning of the whole empty nest, thing. So. Original time. Original time about this. So, okay, and it is testing as that there was an original time. Okay, and this is testing as your lack of control at age 20 as the origin. What was going? Do you remember a whole lot about what was going on then?
Okay, so my loss of control at age 20, I would have been
Like sophomore, junior in college?
I would have been a junior in college going into my senior year, or I guess my first senior year. And then, yeah, 18, 19, 19, 20. Yeah. And let's see, yeah, so junior in college. That year, it's funny, I can't remember anything super specific from that year. I would have been, I'm like trying to think, freshman year there, sophomore year, and then junior year, I mean,
Could it have been like the late 19 going into 20, or?
Even sophomore year, like, yeah, Adam did start as a freshman that year, so Adam was there that year. That's true. Yeah, that's funny. I don't remember. Adam was also there. Yeah, Linda just put that in the thing. So, I mean, the only thing I can think is that at Pepperdine, most of my friends went abroad my sophomore year, and then they came back my junior year. And I don't know, it's just the culture of Pepperdine when you're there, like everyone, there's like like the whole culture has changed from your freshman year to your junior year because a bunch of people just spent all this time together abroad, and then there's like a group that didn't. But I had all these friends from my freshman year that then came into my junior year. And I had Adam too. I don't remember that being super stressful, but maybe it was. So, I mean, it could be related to that, like just the adjustment of my friends returning because we didn't have like social media was not at play, so I had no idea it was like there was no like.
Right.
If you spoke with each other, it was via email, like that. You didn't call because you couldn't, like. I mean, my freshman year I had a landline, and then I think my sophomore year is when I got a cell phone. So like there was no social media, so.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense for that to be like a sense of loss of control. And again, still going back to that piece of the emotional income is because like they're gone and you don't have that connection with them on a regular basis. And then they come back, and I'm sure you were excited about seeing them. But
And
then,
now
like you said, they've spent all this time abroad together, like forming these bonds that you don't have like a frame of reference for.
Yeah, and we're like a differently enlightened groups. Like it's strange, but it is kind of, at least then, I don't know if it's true now, but then, or at least in my limited perception, it was just like, everybody comes back and there's some sort of like grand enlightenment that happens overseas, and there's all this like bonding that happens overseas.
Mhm.
And everything could have changed if you were overseas, but I mean, but that's what it felt. That's the way it felt when you're like that age. You're like, oh, I missed out, and now everybody's different, and I can't understand where they're coming from. It's just like silly, but that's probably how it felt. Overly dramatic.
Yeah. So if you were to like kind of, would you just say, I felt my loss of control at 20 because, all my friends went away, and when they came back, things were different? How would you phrase that?
Let's see. I felt lost control at 20 because I want to say like I want to be like I lost out on some experience, like, and it was, and I felt like at the time it was out of my control. It really wasn't, but that's how it felt. I mean, I like Linda put in the text in the chat, like I didn't get picked for an overseas program, but like at the time I was like so overwhelmed and stressed when I was a freshman. I could have decided to go anywhere else, but because I didn't get my first choice, I was like all upset about it. Um, so there was opportunity for me to go overseas if I decided to do that, but since I didn't get into my top choice, I decided not to go, basically. So, and I don't know, it kind of shadowed a lot of my like freshman, sophomore, and junior year. Like that was always kind of in the background where, you know, you didn't get to go to the international programs parties and stuff. Like, oh no. And all my friends did, like all of them, like every single one. So.
Well, that's the kind of thing that you can look back at on, now and just kind of, and like see other facets of what was going on. But at the time, like when you're in it, a lot of times, we talk about not being able to see the forest for the trees. When you've got like this tree that's right up in your face, you can't just feel like, oh, hey, there's a lot more going on here. But when it's just bark, it's.
Well, I like Linda put all or nothing, and that might be, I think, I imagine I get that sometimes from my parents. Probably more from my mom than my dad. they can be a little bit like, yeah. It also can come from I think sometimes even a fundamentalist Christian background. It's like if it's not all true, then none of it's true, which is like that's not how life works. Like
Yeah. Let's see. So for stomach, we want green. Okay. So.
She sees herself and is amused.
Who's this adorable baby staring back at me? Why have we not met?
I know, you need friends. Anyway.
Sorry, I just saw Linda's comment.
I know.
All right. Well, to the degree that you can, we're gonna do green on your stomach and green on your forehead.
Put it on my phone.
And so think about that lack of control, that all or nothing, and feeling out that you lost out on that experience.
Okay.
So deep breath in and out. Deep breath in, out, and one more.
I got it. I'm fast. I'm speedy.
Just from you, from kind of doing the breaths and the breath work and releasing that charge, is there anything else that's coming up?
I mean, I guess I was thinking about connecting, like maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I was just trying to connect how whatever the situation now with back then. And I guess in some sense it is basically like, for whatever reason, I felt like I couldn't relate because, I don't know, because I didn't have that experience or something, which is silly. I mean, I still did, but I don't know.
just for, I mean, I'm just curious, whenever they did come back, did you feel like the relationships picked back up for the most part where they left off? Or did you
No.
feel
No.
like kind of like, yeah, we're still friends with you, but like,
Some yes, some no. Like probably, like I said, some yes, some no. Like there were a lot that, yeah, no. There were a lot that were no.
Because just, I mean, and I could be wrong, and if I am, please let me know. But that's another way that I can think of that things from the original picture would relate back to the, the now picture of like, well, we're still going to know each other and we're still going to have connection and can still make good memories. But there's this, it's like the whole BC AD split. Like, okay, yeah, all that stuff happened, but things from here on are fundamentally different forever. Like,
kind
of. Maybe not at that like kind of cataclysmic level, but
yeah. But there's an adjustment that has to be made and or accepted, and yeah. Which happens, like you said, maybe not cataclysmic, but I mean, it happens all the time in life. Like something happens and you're like, well, now we can't go backwards. Like, like.
But you're holding one of those moments in your lap right now. Like,
that's true. She's very hungry. Well, she's not very hungry. She's just medium hungry.
Do you need to get her a bottle or anything?
No, we can keep going. She can make it to 4 at least.
Okay. I'm not testing any other emotions, so we're good to go into forgiveness statements.
Okay.
This is trauma. It's not testing as trauma. So, yay! Good to keep your hands.
Yay!
So how do you prefer to do it? Do you do the statements, or do you do the magnets under your feet, or any of that stuff that you need to get ready, or?
Yeah, usually I do, but she's not letting me sit, so we're good.
Cool.
He goes, sitting is not for now.
So I give myself permission.
I give myself permission
to call up and release.
To call up and release.
Every emotional block.
Every emotional block.
That is keeping me stuck.
That is keeping me stuck.
In this weakness and pain.
In this weakness and pain.
And in this disconnect.
In this disconnect.
Of believing that emotional income.
Of believing that emotional income.
Is limited.
Is limited.
And deep breath. Forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
That once things change.
That once things change.
They're never going to be the same.
They're never going to be the same.
And that means they're not okay.
And that means they're not okay.
And deep breath. Forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
That when things change.
But when things change.
It has to cause pain.
It has to cause pain.
And confusion.
And confusion.
And disconnect.
And disconnect.
Like what happened when I was 20.
Like what happened when I was 20.
And my friends went overseas.
And my friends went overseas.
And I didn't.
And I didn't.
And even though they came back, things weren't the same.
And even though they came back, things weren't the same.
Deep breath. I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
Consciously or unconsciously.
consciously or unconsciously,
that whenever I got married,
that whenever I got married,
I was changing the dynamic between me and my mom,
I was changing the dynamic between me and my mom,
and we could never go back to that,
and we could never go back to that,
and that I might cause her pain,
and then I might cause her pain,
even though I knew that I was moving forward into something that I loved.
even though I knew that I was moving forward in something that I loved.
Deep breath. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that it was my responsibility
that it was my responsibility
to take on my mom's feelings of loss of control.
my mom's loss of control.
Because there was a big change happening in my life.
Because there was a big change happening in my life.
When I got married, whenever I got married, if you can.
What'd you say?
Whenever I got married.
Whenever I got married.
And there's all these big changes happening now.
Say it again.
And there's all these big changes happening now.
And there's all these big changes happening now.
Forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
Again, consciously or unconsciously.
Consciously or unconsciously.
That I was the one who started all this change.
That I was the one who started all this change.
And deep breath. And I raise my level of acceptance to the truth.
I raise my level of acceptance to the truth.
That things change even if you don't do anything.
Things change even if you don't do anything.
If you just sit there in a chair, stuff's going to change.
If you just sit there in a chair, stuff's going to change.
Forgive myself for believing that I'm that powerful.
I forgive myself for believing that I am that powerful.
And I love and accept myself.
And I love and accept myself.
Being in my part in this change process.
Being in my part in this change process.
And deep breath. Forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing
that things have to go back to the way they were.
That things have to go back to the way they were.
When I was 20 or when I got married.
When I was 20 or when I got married.
Or in 2019 before all this stuff started happening.
Or in 2019 before all this stuff started.
I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to do any of that.
I don't have to do any of that.
To be a channel of God's love and healing.
Just be a channel of God's love and healing.
For whoever I am in front of.
For whoever I'm in front of.
Whether that's a family member or a client.
Whether that's a family member or a client.
I carry that love with me everywhere.
I carry that love with me everywhere.
And deep breath. And I forgive my mom.
I forgive my mom.
For anything that she said or did.
For anything that she said or did.
Probably not knowing.
Probably not knowing.
That caused me to feel like I needed to take on her loss of control.
That caused me to feel like I needed to take on her loss of control.
And deep breath. And I give my mom permission.
I give my mom permission.
To take care of her own loss of control.
To take care of her own loss of control.
And deep breath. And I give love and gratitude to God.
I love and gravitate to God.
In the midst of all this chaos.
In the midst of all this chaos.
And poopy diapers.
And poopy diapers.
And people moving across the planet.
People moving across the planet.
And changes in relationship dynamics.
And changes in relationship dynamics.
Because God's love is big enough.
because God's love is big enough
to cover it all
to cover it all
and hold us all together.
and hold us all together.
And deep breath. I give my mom permission to forgive me
I give my mom permission to forgive me
for letting her loss of control of events
for letting her loss of control of events
have such an impact on me.
have such an impact on me.
And deep breath. I forgive those people at Pepperdine.
I forgive those people.
You didn't give me my first choice.
You didn't give me my first choice.
Because, duh.
Duh, because
And I also forgive myself
I forgive myself
for being stuck in that all or nothing thinking.
for being stuck in that all or nothing thinking.
And deep breath. And I give myself permission
I give myself permission
to be open to possibility.
to be open to possibility.
That even though I may have my heart set on something,
That even though I may have my heart set on something,
God may have my heart set on something else that I don't even know about yet.
God may have my heart set on something else that I don't even know about yet.
And deep breath. Forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing.
Oh, sorry. Little chat thing went off. My bad. Yeah, I forgive myself for believing that when things change, I can't relate to people.
Forgive myself for believing that when things change, I can't relate to people.
And that they can't relate to me.
And that they can't relate to me.
And breathe. So without this energy of loss of control,
Without this energy of loss of control,
I'm free to be out of control.
I'm free to be out of control.
I can be the leaf on the wind.
I can be the lead. I can do all kinds of things.
What it makes me think of is like, like when dandelions are little puffballs,
Mm-hmm.
and you blow on one and those seeds just get caught by the wind. They land exactly where they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Even though to us, it may look like it's just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But they all go where they're supposed to go.
Well, and here's one. Linda has one. I forgive myself for believing I didn't have more choices, but I also forgive myself for not realizing that I had more choices.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a place a lot of people get stuck where they really don't think they have a choice about things. But you look back and you're like, I had a million choices I could have made. And I made like the one I thought was the only possible one.
So I raise my level of acceptance
I raise my level of acceptance
to seeing God's plan as a tapestry.
and seeing God's what?
God's plan
God's plan
as a tapestry
as a tapestry
and not just a single thread.
and not just a single thread.
That all these different things weave together beautifully.
There are all these different things weaved together beautifully.
And breathe. So without this loss of control,
Without this loss of control,
I'm free to be in right relationship with the people in my life.
I'm free to be in a right relationship with the people in my life.
Throughout the course of our lives.
Throughout the course of our lives.
And not just limited to a little slice of it.
And not just limited to a little slice.
And breathe. without this loss of control,
without this loss of control.
I'm free to feel worthy,
I'm free to feel worthy,
even though I didn't get to go overseas then,
even though I didn't get to go overseas then,
and I didn't get my first choice.
and I didn't get my first choice.
But now I get to make even better choices
But now I get to make even better choices
because I'm open to possibilities
because I'm open to possibilities
and not limited to all or nothing.
and not limited to all or nothing.
Breathe. Without this pattern, I'm free to be calm
Without this pattern, I'm free to be calm
in the midst of chaos
in the midst of chaos
and transition
and transition
and just the ebb and flow of life.
and just the ebb and flow of life.
And I'm also free
And I'm also free
to be content
to be content
with the way things are now.
with the way things are now.
I can celebrate what was.
I can celebrate what was.
I can celebrate what is.
I can celebrate what is.
And I can anticipate celebration
And I can anticipate celebration
for what's to come.
for what's to come.
Okay. So I call up
So I call up
and say yes
and say yes
to this loss of control,
to this loss of control,
and I release it
and I release it
to God's love, light, and mercy.
to God's love, light, and mercy.
A deep breath. Are there any other statements that are coming up for you?
No, that was pretty good. Maybe like I forgive myself for holding on to pain as a way to remind myself of the loss of control.
Yeah, that's good.
I forgive myself for using pain as something I can control, maybe, or to show that I have no control.
Forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I have to hold pain or discomfort
that I have to hold pain or discomfort
to honor what was before change.
to honor what was before change, or to mark as like a memory or something. That's good. Without this loss of control, I'm free to let my body heal how it needs to heal, make better choices for my own health and other people's health. Or if I need this. Yeah, maybe without this pattern, I'm free not to. I'm like, without this pattern, I'm free to again just love myself more instead of worry about what's missing or have pain to replace what's missing. What I think is missing.
Without this pattern, I'm free
Without this pattern, I'm free
to model something different for my daughter
to model something different for my daughter
as she moves through the different phases of her life.
as she moves through what?
The different phases of her life.
The different phases of her life.
She doesn't have to carry a pain for each one of those.
She doesn't have to carry a pain for each one of those.
And breathe.
Okay. That's good. All right.
Okay. Right, so when we started, distress at the thought of being free of that pain was a 7, and elation was a 2. Now it's distress at the thought of that pain not being there is testing at a 1, elation is at a 9. Stage of healing started at 3 and went to 6.
Woohoo!
Letting go is testing strong now.
Woohoo!
So how, I mean, just kind of physically, how do you feel right now?
Well, I was trying to notice different things I was feeling during, and like, I mean, I'm gonna say like right now, not huge shift, but I mean, we'll see. We'll just wait and see, you know. I mean, like, sometimes it takes a minute. So, or you know, I like to tell people, you know, with pain sometimes, like if it goes away, awesome. But you know, you might try something to make it go away later, and it'll actually work. You know, like whatever health thing, you know, the emotions free up, so whatever pain you have can like your body if your body gets the right stuff, it'll actually work. You know.
Yeah, well, I've heard people say that they've like had a specific like chiropractic adjustment that they've like had over and over and over, and it just won't hold. But then they do some emotional work on whatever the underlying trauma was, and then it's like 3 or 4 adjustments later, it's just like fixed. So
Yep. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep taking care and hope I'm gonna keep taking care. And we'll see if some of the strength it's interesting because I can do pretty much everything, but it just hurts sometimes. Like like I can still do it. So it's not gone yet. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I forgive myself for believing doing things that lead to change have to hurt.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. All right. Anyway, let me let me turn off. Oh, hi, Donnie. I'm turning off the recording. Stop recording.